what if I told you that, the heavy, solid brick chimney on the side of your house might actually be acting like a giant, like 5,000-pound sponge?
Yeah, it's wild to think about.
Right, like that right now it could be quietly soaking up just an ocean of water, basically just waiting for the temperature to drop so it can blow itself apart from the inside out.
It really, it completely flips how we view the structures we live in. I mean, we walk past brick buildings every day and just assume they're static, right? Like immovable blocks of stone.
Yeah, exactly.
But at a microscopic level, they are highly active materials. They are constantly absorbing and reacting to pretty much everything the atmosphere throws at them.
It's crazy. Well, welcome to our deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore the surprising, totally hidden physics happening right outside your window. We're unpacking a really fascinating collection of sources today. It's a series of guides, service details, and technical blog posts written by John Constantine.
From Portland Chimney Service, right?
Yeah. Right, yeah. They're a masonry expert team based out of Forest Park D in Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
And what they've put together is basically, I call it a masterclass in how buildings survive or, well, fail to survive the elements.
It is. They give us this remarkably detailed look at the mechanics of structural decay. It's a complete breakdown of how extreme coastal weather just systematically dismantles these supposedly indestructible materials.
Yeah.
And maybe more importantly, the surprisingly complex chemistry required to actually stop it.
I promise you, by the end of this deep dive, you're going to look at the buildings around you in a completely different way. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can talk about saving a structure, we really need to understand the mechanics of how it's being destroyed in the first place.
Right, the root cause.
Yeah. My default assumption, and probably yours too if you're listening to this, is that a brick is just a dense, waterproof block.
Oh, sure.
But the source material just shatters that idea immediately.
Totally. To really grasp this, we have to zoom in on the material itself. Because brick and mortar are formed from clay, sand, and various aggregates, which are then fired or cured.
Right.
And this process leaves them inherently porous. They're just riddled with microscopic voids and capillaries. So when you picture a brick, you really shouldn't picture a solid rock.
Okay, what should I picture then?
You really should picture a rigid, incredibly heavy sponge.
A sponge, so it's actively drinking in whatever's in the air.
Very much so, yeah. Throughout the wet seasons, those materials are absorbing coastal fog, they're drinking in persistent rain, soaking up melting snow. The sources actually point out that unprotected masonry can reach up to a staggering 100% water saturation.
Wait, really? 100%?
Yes. Every single microscopic void in that brick gets completely filled with Atlantic moisture.
100% saturation. That means the brick is physically holding like as much water as its cellular structure will even allow. Which, if I think about it, wouldn't necessarily be a catastrophic structural problem if you live somewhere where it was, always 70 degrees.
Right, if things were stable.
But the sources are based in Maine.
Right. And that brings us to the core physical mechanism of destruction here, which is the freeze-thaw cycle.
Okay.
When winter hits Maine, the ambient temperature drops well below freezing, and all of that trapped water inside the microscopic pores of the brick changes state.
It turns to ice.
Exactly, it turns to ice. And water, as a fundamental rule of physics, expands by about 9% when it freezes.
9% doesn't sound like much until you really scale it up.
Right.
It's like leaving a full can of soda in the freezer.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. The soda freezes, it expands, and because the aluminum can has absolutely no room to give, the internal pressure just builds and builds until the metal actually ruptures.
Yes. Now apply that exact same physical force to the entire side of a house.
Oh, what?
The expansion of the ice creates massive internal pressure within the mortar joints and the bricks themselves. And the material has zero elasticity. It simply cannot stretch to accommodate that 9% increase in volume.
Because it's literally baked clay.
Exactly. So this leads to hairline cracking and eventually this very specific aggressive process called spalling.
Yeah, the sources mention spalling a lot. Walk me through the actual physics of what a spalling brick looks like.
So the face of the brick, the smooth outer layer that you actually see when you look at a house, is usually the hardest part because of how it was fired in the kiln.
Okay, makes sense.
But the inside of the brick is softer and it holds a lot more water, When that internal water freezes and pushes outward, it hits the back of that hard outer face.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, the shear stress becomes so immense that the entire front face of the brick simply shears off.
It just pops off.
It pops cleanly off the structure and falls right to the ground, and then you are left with this jagged, crumbling, exposed interior that absorbs water even faster than before.
It sounds almost explosive on a micro scale.
It pretty much is.
And the environment in Maine seems uniquely designed to accelerate this exact process. The sources detail the heavy snow, freezing rain, biting coastal winds, and this highly corrosive salt air.
Oh yeah, the coast is brutal.
And they also note a really interesting trend. Shifting environmental conditions are actually causing chimneys on everything from historic West End Victorian homes to mid-century suburban builds to fail faster than ever before.
They are.
It makes me wonder, if brick is basically a sponge acting as a self-destruct mechanism in the winter, why did anyone ever start building chimneys out of it in places like Maine?
What's fascinating here is that historical masonry relies heavily on environmental stability.
Okay.
Brick actually performs beautifully when seasonal transitions are gradual and, somewhat predictable.
Like a normal winter setting in slowly.
Right. But the modern fluctuating climate, this rapid, volatile cycle of a soaking rainstorm on a Tuesday, followed immediately by a deep freeze on Wednesday, a thaw on Thursday, and another freeze on Friday, that weaponizes the brick's natural porosity.
Oh, because it never gets a chance to dry out before the next freeze hits.
Exactly. It's perpetually saturated and freezing.
Okay, so if water absorption is the clear enemy here, my immediate instinct, and, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, would be to just run down to the local hardware store, buy the biggest bucket of heavy-duty waterproof deck sealant I can find, and just paint the entire chimney.
Oh.
Just cover it in a thick, waterproof plastic shell. Boom, problem solved.
Doing that is arguably one of the fastest ways to destroy a masonry structure.
Okay, I need you to explain why, because my logic seems pretty sound here. If water is destroying the brick from the outside, a waterproof barrier stops the water.
Right, but you are only accounting for the water falling from the sky. You have to step back and look at the house as a living, breathing ecosystem. Think about the daily activities generating moisture inside that structure.
Like what?
Cooking on the stove, running hot showers, boiling water, drying clothes, operating heating systems, even just the simple act of human beings exhaling.
All of that puts water in the air.
It creates a massive amount of internal water vapor. A house, and specifically a masonry chimney system, literally needs to breathe to let that vapor escape outward through the walls.
So the moisture is migrating from the inside of the house through the drywall, through the framing, and eventually into the back of the brickwork to escape outside.
Yes, exactly. Through vapor drive. If you apply a generic big box hardware store sealant, which is typically a non-permeable film-forming sealer, you are essentially wrapping your chimney in heavy plastic wrap.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you might successfully stop the exterior rain from getting in, but you trap all of that internal household moisture inside the brick. It hits the back of that plastic film and condenses.
And then winter hits, that trapped internal moisture freezes, expands, and pops the bricks from the inside out anyway.
Exactly.
I basically just locked the enemy inside the gates.
You've completely guaranteed the destruction you were trying to prevent.
Wow.
The solution requires a very specific approach to chemistry, not just a physical barrier. The sources emphasize the use of professional-grade silane and siloxane-based repellents.
Okay.
Because these treatments are completely vapor permeable.
Vapor permeable. I'm trying to visualize this. Is it similar to how high-tech athletic gear works? Like a Gore-Tex running jacket?
Yeah, kind of.
Where it repels the big, heavy liquid raindrops hitting you from the outside, but the microscopic pores in the fabric are still open enough to let the tiny vapor molecules of sweat escape from your body.
The concept is definitely similar, yeah, but the actual mechanism at the molecular level is remarkable.
Okay, how so?
Well, when professionals apply a silane or siloxane repellent, it doesn't just sit on the surface and dry into a film like paint. The molecules in these repellents are incredibly small. They penetrate deeply into the microscopic capillaries of the brickwork.
So they go inside the sponge.
Right. And once inside, they form a chemical bond with the silica that is naturally present in the masonry.
Wait, really? So the chemical is actually reacting with the minerals in the brick?
Yes. They bond to the walls of the pores without physically plugging them.
Oh, wow.
What they do is alter the surface tension of the brick. Liquid water molecules, like raindrops, group together through cohesion.
Right.
Because the repellent lowers the surface tension of the brick, those large groups of liquid water molecules can no longer spread out and absorb. They simply beat up and roll off.
Like on a freshly waxed car.
Exactly. But water vapor from inside the house consists of single, unattached molecules. They are tiny enough to easily pass right through those open, treated pores and vent into the atmosphere.
So microscopically, the material is permanently altered to reject liquid water while allowing invisible water vapor to pass through freely.
You got it.
And the sources note that when done correctly, this can reduce water saturation in the brick to less than 5%.
Which is huge.
Yeah. Taking a brick from 100% saturated down to 5% is a staggering drop in potential ice expansion.
It essentially neutralizes the freeze-thaw threat entirely. And visually, the appearance of the home remains completely unchanged. The chemistry dries totally clear, leaving the original texture and color of the masonry completely intact.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to look at the practical application here.
Sure.
If I'm a homeowner looking at my slightly weathered chimney and, I see some cracks in the mortar, maybe a few missing chunks here and there, if this siloxane chemical alters surface tension and acts like magic armor, I'm tempted to just buy a sprayer, hose down the cracked mortar, and save myself thousands of dollars in masonry repairs. Won't the chemistry just bond to the broken edges and seal up the whole system?
This raises an important question, but this is exactly where we run into the physical limitations of chemistry.
Okay, why doesn't it work?
Because a liquid treatment, no matter how advanced its molecular structure is, cannot bridge physical gaps. If you have a quarter-inch crack in your mortar or chunks of material missing, bulk water, actual physical streams of rain running down the side of the house will just bypass the chemical barrier entirely.
Oh, I see.
The water will just flow right through those open structural holes and completely flood the interior of the chimney.
So the magic chemistry is completely useless if the physical foundation has holes in it.
Completely useless.
Well,
The structure must be physically sound before the chemical defense is deployed. And the preparation the sources describe is intense.
like, what do they have to do?
Well, before a drop of repellent touches the brick, technicians have to meticulously clean the structure. They scrub away aggressive biological growth like moss and algae, which actually hold moisture against the brick. And they also have to remove something called efflorescence.
Efflorescence. I've seen that term. That's the powdery white staining you see bleeding down the side of older brick buildings, right? Usually under windows or near the roofline.
Yeah, exactly. Those are mineral salts. When water enters a brick, it dissolves the natural salts hidden deep within the masonry.
Okay.
As the sun comes out and that water evaporates, it draws those dissolved salts to the surface, leaving behind that white powdery residue. You have to use specialized cleaners to scrub all of that away, otherwise you're just sealing the salts into the brick, and the chemical repellent won't be able to penetrate the silica.
Man. And once it's clean, they still have to fix those physical gaps I mentioned.
Yes, through a process called tuck pointing.
Right.
This is highly skilled labor. Professionals use specialized grinders to carefully cut out the old, decayed mortar from between the bricks. And they have to do this without damaging the surrounding historical brick face.
Which sounds incredibly difficult.
It is. Then they mix fresh mortar, often custom tinted to match the original 100-year-old color, and pack it deeply into the joints to restore the physical integrity of the wall.
The sheer amount of physical labor required before you even get to the chemistry is wild.
It is a massive undertaking. Only after the structure is completely solid, cured, and pristine do they apply the sealane repellent. And they don't just mist it on.
How do they apply it?
They use specialized equipment to flood the bricks from the bottom up, ensuring maximum chemical absorption against gravity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The result is a treatment that extends the lifespan of the mortar joints by 10 to 15 years.
Okay, so let's zoom out. We've scrubbed the efflorescence, we've ground out the old mortar and tuck pointed the joints, we've flooded the silica with sealane, and we've successfully fortified the outside of the fortress against the brutal Maine winter.
Right, the outside is secure.
But as the sources from Portland Chimney Service point out, while we spent all this time worrying about the weather outside, there is a completely different, highly destructive process attacking the chimney from the inside out.
Yeah, protecting the exterior brickwork is only half of the survival equation. We have to look at the flue.
The actual hollow venting system running up the center of the chimney.
Exactly. While the outside faces freezing rain and ice, the inner brickwork is enduring the extreme byproducts of combustion.
Let's talk about combustion, because When we burn wood or heating fuel, we tend to just think of the result as smoke floating away. But it's a really complex chemical reaction.
A reaction that produces highly acidic gases, unburned volatile compounds, and a significant amount of water vapor.
Right.
Historically, chimneys were lined with terracotta clay tiles to protect the surrounding brick from this exhaust. But over decades of extreme heat and corrosive moisture, those clay liners crack, crumble, and fail.
And when a liner fails,
When a liner fails, it exposes the structural brick framework of your home directly to those acidic gases.
the exhaust just starts eating the brick from the inside out.
Exactly.
And the solution they outline is upgrading these failing clay systems to premium stainless steel liners. Now, I get that stainless steel is highly durable and won't corrode like clay, but how does slipping a metal tube down the chimney actually change how the system functions?
It radically changes the thermodynamics of the chimney. To understand this, you have to understand draft efficiency. A chimney works because hot air rises, right?
Yeah.
The hotter the exhaust gases are, the more buoyant they become, and the faster they draft up and out of the house.
That makes sense. Heat wants to escape upward.
But imagine those hot gases traveling up a massive, cold, cracked clay liner. The clay absorbs the heat.
Oh.
Yeah, the gases rapidly cool down before they reach the top. When smoke cools, it becomes heavy and sluggish. It slows down. And more importantly, all that water vapor and unburned fuel in the smoke condenses on the cold inner walls of the chimney.
Oh, and that condensation is what creates creosote.
Precisely how it forms. Creosote is a highly flammable, sticky, tar-like substance that clings to the walls of the flue.
Nasty stuff.
Very. A stainless steel liner, especially an insulated one, fixes this thermodynamic problem. It creates a seamless, relatively narrow corridor. The exhaust gases don't lose their heat to a massive column of cold masonry. They stay hot, they stay highly buoyant, and they race out of the chimney before they have a chance to cool and condense into creosote.
Which drastically reduces the risk of a chimney fire.
Absolutely.
Because a creosote fire isn't just a small flame. From what I understand, it burns at over 2,000 degrees. It sounds like a jet engine roaring inside your living room.
Yeah.
And it easily melts mortar and spreads to the wooden framing of the house.
It is utterly devastating. And even beyond fire, a compromised liner allows dangerous, odorless carbon monoxide to leak through the porous bricks and seep directly into the bedrooms and living spaces of the home.
It really reframes what a chimney actually is. I mean, we treat it like a passive architectural feature, maybe somewhere to hang stockings in December.
Right.
But it's an incredibly hostile environment. It is actively managing extreme heat from the firebox, highly corrosive chemical exhaust in the flue, and sub-zero freezing external weather on the exterior brick, all at exactly the same time, separated by just a few inches of material.
It is. Which brings us to the final vulnerability the sources highlight, and it's one most people never see because it's up on the roof.
The chimney crown.
The chimney crown.
That's the flat cement slab sitting on the very top of the brickwork, right? It acts like a roof for the chimney itself, funneling rainwater away from the vertical walls, so water doesn't just pour straight down into the interior masonry.
It is the first line of defense, and it takes the brunt of the weather. The sources are adamant that even hairline fractures in the concrete crown must be sealed immediately with specialized elastomeric coatings.
Because if water gets into a tiny crack on that flat surface, the freeze-thaw cycle takes over again.
Yes. The ice expands, basically tearing the top of the chimney apart. It happens slowly at first, but if ignored, simple patching is no longer an option.
Because it just gets worse.
The concrete splits open, water cascades into the interior structure, and you are looking at the complete demolition of the top courses of brick and casting a brand new concrete slab from scratch.
Oof. So we've covered a massive amount of ground here. We've gone from the microscopic pores of a brick acting like a 5,000-pound sponge to the precise surface tension chemistry of silane-based repellents to the thermodynamics of draft efficiency in stainless steel liners.
Yeah.
What is the ultimate takeaway for the listener here?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the core lesson is a fundamental shift in how we approach the buildings we occupy. Maintaining a structure isn't just about aesthetic upkeep, mowing the lawn, repainting the front door, or making sure the brick looks nice.
Right.
It requires an active understanding of the complex systems and harsh environmental realities your property faces every single day.
You can't just treat the building as a passive object. It is constantly reacting to everything around it.
Preventative maintenance is the only logical way forward. getting professional annual inspections, ensuring your flues are swept of creosote, recognizing the early warning signs of spalling before the brick face shears off, and investing in vapor-permeable waterproofing.
Yeah.
Waiting for the first signs of water damage to appear on your interior drywall is an exponentially costly mistake.
Because by the time you see the water stains on your ceiling, the invisible physics happening outside have already run their course. The defenses have already been breached. The time to fortify the masonry is before winter arrives, not after the bricks start falling into the yard.
The structural health of a home relies entirely on staying ahead of that cycle.
It really is a fascinating journey. Understanding that an instinct as simple as wanting to waterproof a brick can actually lead to trapping the house's internal moisture, causing the walls to rupture from the inside out.
It's so counterintuitive.
And the elegance of using tiny siloxane molecules to block massive Atlantic rainstorms while still letting the home breathe. And then applying that same rigor to the inside, using stainless steel to control the volatile thermodynamics of a wood fire. It's a comprehensive, highly engineered system of defense, both inside and out.
A delicate balance between chemistry, physics, and thermodynamics.
So whether you own a historic Victorian home in Portland, Maine, a mid-century suburban build, or whether you just rent an apartment in a brick high-rise anywhere else in the world, the next time you look out your window, remember that the buildings you see are not permanent static monuments. They are engaged in a constant, invisible, high-stakes negotiation with the elements around them.
And that actually leads to a really profound question about the future of these structures.
Yeah.
We've spent this entire time talking about the delicate balance between the freezing weather outside and the hot, moisture-producing combustion happening inside the chimney.
Right.
But as we transition away from burning fossil fuels and wood and move toward full electrification and heat pumps, these massive masonry chimneys will suddenly stop being used.
Oh, wow.
They will no longer have hot exhaust gases rising through them to dry out the interior brickwork. If a chimney becomes an abandoned, cold, unheated column of stone attached to the side of a house, how drastically will that accelerate the freeze-thaw decay we've just discussed? And what will we have to do to keep these obsolete structures from collapsing under their own weight?
Now, that is a thought to linger on. The very upgrades meant to make our homes more efficient might completely rewrite the survival rules for the masonry left behind. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.